Alright, what's going on, guys? So today I have a little bit of a different video for you guys. So I asked in a Dark Souls group that I'm in, I want to know some of your hot takes on the Dark Souls series. And by that, I mean some of the most controversial opinions you hold that'll typically get a lot of negative responses from others. And let me just tell you, we got some good ones. So before we begin, guys, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're not already. I'll be putting out Dark Souls videos probably 3 times a week and doing my best to keep y'all entertained. And also, guys, go ahead and drop your most controversial opinion on Dark Souls down in the comments below because I kind of like to start wars down there. So go ahead and do that, and let's get into some controversial opinions from the community. Alright, so hot take number 1. The original Dark Souls is the worst of the trilogy. So right off the bat, I know a lot of people that are going to get pretty ticked off just by the fact that he said that. So before we go ahead and judge this guy, let's kind of break this down a little bit. So I can kind of see where somebody might think this, and that's just because the game as a whole, since it was the first one of its kind, doesn't really have a lot of the updated features and updated like weapon variety and variety of the game as a whole that the other two have. So I can kind of see where people might gather this, but I'm just gonna say it, this opinion is flat out wrong. Dude, playing Dark Souls 1 for the first time and experiencing this kind of game for the first time for me was just completely unmatched in any other gaming experience I've ever had in my life. The original Dark Souls 1 has something that's completely unique to it from the other two, and I think that is the world design. The world design in Dark Souls 1 is phenomenal. The way it interconnects and it really ties everything together, and it feels like a complete world and everything makes sense. So some examples of this are like being able to see Ash Lake from the catacombs and going down into the depths from the undead burg. It all makes perfect sense, and it feels like a real world that was actually like devastated by this curse. And I mean, the other two have elements of this in their own ways, but they're not as like structured as Dark Souls 1 was, if that makes sense. Now, I can go on and on about this all day, but I think the world building alone sets Dark Souls 1 apart from the other two in such a better way than this sort of like level-based world building that we got in Dark Souls 2 and 3. Like in Dark Souls 1, you're in this world, you can go anywhere you want from the beginning, there's different branching paths, and it all feels like it's put together. But in Dark Souls 2 and 3, it's kind of laid out in a level-based way. Like you have to go do level 1, do level 2, do level 3, all in the same order every time. But I think that's the main reason why Dark Souls 1 definitely cannot be the worst of the 3. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next hot take. So here's hot take number 2. Alright, number 2. So Sister Frieda, Nameless King, Ornstein and Smough, the 4 kings, all in-game bosses, Artorias, and many others are rather easy and took me one try. My first playthrough, my only playthrough of any of the Dark Souls games. Okay, so like, I don't know what god mode this dude was playing on or like with what cheats, but I know he did not first try Sister Frieda. Dude, I don't know anybody that first tried that. The 3-stage boss fight? Like, dude, I don't know if we're talking about the same game here. That fight alone took me like a month to beat the first time I went through the game. Now, I know people that first tried Ornstein and Smough and Artorias, but to do all of those on your first try in all games, like, dude, that's cap. I don't know anybody that's done that. Like, unless they're cheating or unless they're lying about it being their first playthrough, there's no way. But I'm gonna go ahead and say it that I don't believe this guy, and that's definitely a hot take. Alright, hot take number 3. PvP wasn't the main point of the series, and catering to it has watered down the design philosophies of Demon Souls. Now, I haven't played Demon Souls, so I can't really speak to that game too much, but I definitely think PvP is an amazing feature in the game. And I'd really like to hear the reasoning as to why they think it waters down the experience of the game as a whole. Like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The point of this game is for you to die, and for it to be a very hard challenge to overcome. And I think the addition of invaders is an amazing addition to that. Now, as to catering to it, like, in what ways are you talking about? Are you talking about like fight clubs, or just like playing PvP for fun? Like, that's not the point of the game or something? I mean, you gotta have some post-game content, even in a game like Dark Souls that's so story-driven. Having something to do after you've beaten the game, like in several different ways, Like, give us something to keep coming back to the game. There's nothing wrong with that. I'd really go out on a limb to say that at least half of the culture around Dark Souls is PvP based. And I think that's an amazing thing for the game. Now, if you're talking about Demon Souls specifically, like I said before, I can't really speak to that because I haven't played the game. But from the perspective of Dark Souls, I think PvP is a great addition, and I don't think it takes away from the experience at all. Alright, hot take number 4. Dark Souls 1 is the worst, and Sens Fortress is actually super easy. So we've already talked about why I don't think that's true about Dark Souls 1 being the worst, but for Sens Fortress being easy, dude, try telling that to a first time player. I don't think any of them will agree with you. Now, if you're someone that's experienced with the game and you know how to get through it, then yeah, it's going to be pretty easy. But for first time players, dude, there is no way they're going to get through that on their first try without having a little bit of trouble. Now, I mean, there's probably a handful of people that did it just fine their first time, but to say it's easy, I definitely don't agree with that. At least for first time players. There's just too many unexpected traps and like winding areas for the first time player not to know about. And to think that they just magically saw through everything without any trouble at all, and getting through new types of enemies without knowing their movesets, I really don't agree that it's an easy area. So, moving on. Hot take number 5. Fair and Keep is actually a very fun level, with tons of cool things to get early on and explore. Okay, now I know everybody has different taste, but dude, I hated Fair and Keep. That was by far my least favorite area in the entire game. Like, I know they love their obligatory poison levels, but dude, it was so annoying to get slowed down. And I mean, I knew about the dagger thing where you can like glide across it, but dude, it was such a freaking nightmare to get through that without knowing where to go. Now, I will say the area with the stray demon on top with the wolf covenant, I really thought that was very cool, but that was because I wasn't slowed down to like half speed while getting poisoned while having tons of enemies jumping on me. It didn't feel like a very fair level, and honestly it made me not want to explore it just because of that fact. I wanted to get through it as fast as possible and get to the boss so I can move on back to some stable ground where I can play in the fluidity that I'd been playing before in the whole game. So besides the big castle wall area, I think Fair and Keep was pretty crap, dude. So I definitely disagree with you on that. Now for things to explore, I had a lot of fun finding the items once I went back on my second playthrough and decided to really just kind of break it down inch by inch. But it wasn't until that second playthrough that I really kind of got the appreciation of it. So I think for your first playthrough, I think it's a terrible area. Second or third playthrough, I'll give it that it has some cool things to discover and some cool items to get pretty early on. But on that first playthrough, it really discourages exploration, and I don't think that's a good thing. Alright, so now for my personal hot take that I submitted as the first comment on that. Don't hate on me too much down in the comments, but I like Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin much more than I like Dark Souls 3. So let me explain. Dark Souls 2, now Scholar of the First Sin, because the original Dark Souls 2 is terrible. I will tell you that all day long. Scholar of the First Sin fixed all the issues that it had, and I think that as a game as a whole, it's much better than Dark Souls 3 and lore-wise. So here's why. So with the storytelling in Dark Souls 1 of it telling you almost nothing about the world you're in, almost nothing about your objective, and telling it through environmental setting, it really gave you a very big appreciation for the world as a whole. So when Dark Souls 2 came out, it changed that up quite a bit and gave more of a direct storytelling element to it. Like when you got to Majula, the Firekeeper was telling you, hey, here's your objective, here's what you are, go do this. And a lot of people didn't like that. But for me personally, I thought the lore in Dark Souls 2, with all the NPC stories, all the objective that it's telling you to do, that made me feel much more connected to the game itself. I think there was a perfect balance between telling and showing in the game, and because of that, I was very sucked in and immersed into the world around me. And also the game just had a whole different vibe to it. It kind of went from this dark and despairing element and atmosphere to more of this like fairy tale setting with more of a magic to it. Personally, I really like that. And I know there's people that hate the kind of slow aspect of the gameplay. I didn't mind it too much. I thought it did a good job of balancing that with the different various enemy types and all the different kinds of weapons you could wield. And the way they played, It made me feel like I would have to play the game at least 3 times to get a feel for all the different varieties of weapons and different build types you could have in this game. Now I know Dark Souls 1 and 3 had that as well, but I feel they didn't really expand on it as much to make you feel like there was really an opportunity to get a different experience each time. To me, it felt like when I fought a boss in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3, it wouldn't matter if I used like a big strength build or an archery build, I would be fighting the boss the same way every time. In Scholar of the First Sin, there are so many different bosses that have different ways you can tackle them, and different ways you can fight them each time you play through the game. So some examples that come to mind is like the Lost Sinner. On your first playthrough, you might not know about the trapdoors up there where you can light the oil and it'll illuminate the arena. So for some first time players, they might be going in with all the lights off. Now on their second playthrough, they'll probably pick up that, hey, if I go up here and I light my torch, I can light the arena and this is going to be a much better experience. Now there's several different examples of this, and that's just one aspect of why I like the game better. But overall, I like the vibe better. I like the variety of different experiences you can have through the game better than the other two. And I thought the mixture of showing and telling was a perfect ratio in this game that made me get so immersed into it much more than I did with Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 3. But again, that's just my opinion. Go ahead and hate on me in the comments. But that's the whole point of this video, to see some of the community hot takes that we have out there. So let me know down below, what is your most controversial opinion on the Dark Souls trilogy? I'll probably be doing a couple more of these videos, so if you want your hot take to be featured in the next video, go ahead and post it down in the comments and I'll be picking the best ones. So I'll catch you in the next one.
Out in the west side, she get my best side. Girl, I know you see it coming on your timeline. You're just like fine wine, hit on my line.